Good Bad Brain is a production of Mind Jam Media. If you like Good Bad Brain, please check us out at patreon.com/mygoodbadbrain. And also, if you like the show, leave us some reviews. Good reviews. They're helpful. They're lovely. Thank you. On with the show.
Welcome to my good bad brain. I'm a normal person, so I'm insane. I've got depression and ADHD, but I'm doing better since I medicated me. I'm still not always sure whether I exist or what being a person even really is, but I figured out a long time ago that being alive is beautiful.
Welcome back to my Good Bad Brain, everybody. This episode is a conversational episode with Ava Gordy. She's great. What am I trying to say? Intro. Intro's the businessy section that sort of creates the schwa into the start of the episode. I've been having some existential thoughts about my good bad brain. I mean, in general, but what else is fucking new? And I mentioned this in the last podcast a little, if you listen to that brain breather, that I was thinking about stopping. That I had this goal to do this for a year, which means only 8 more episodes to get to 53, which I'm getting, 52 weeks, 53 weeks, leap year, right, or something like that. So I thought that I would maybe stop because I was feeling like I don't know what this is for, and I don't know what I'm doing, and sometimes does it make me feel worse? I don't know. The navel-gazing kind of thing that can happen where sometimes you're focused on a problem too much and you feel like you just perpetuate the problem. This feeling like that I was identifying myself with or as somebody fucked up. And then I started feeling I was performing it. I just got in my head about it. And I had a little bit of a bad week recently, and I don't know. I missed a week. It was one of the first times I missed a week a couple weeks ago. And that sucked. And I think that, I don't know, it was a chicken or egg thing about like the bad headspace I was in, feeling just like fucking bad about things. And one of the feelings that I think one gets sometimes in those spaces is like, fuck it, let's just burn everything down, throw everything out, do something new. It'll be great. It'll be great. Like some like coked up guy being like, let's start a restaurant. I don't think that's a good idea. My good bad brain is evolving all the time, much like the actual good bad brain that I have. And I want to keep letting that happen and see where it goes. And I got several little messages randomly, like I do. They trickle in from y'all that it matters to people. And so we're going to definitely keep this fucking thing going. I don't know what form it's all going to take. One thing I'd really like to start doing is bringing in more listeners. And so I would like, if you are interested, I've had a couple people reach out to me already, and we'll figure out how to do remote. I think I have it figured out now. I did a remote with Terry, and there were some little technical errors I made, but I think I have the solution. But if you are interested, because here's the thought. The thought is, I think the strength of Good Bad Brain is the irony of saying my good bad brain is that y'all have good bad brains that are your own also. And that in this exploration of one person's good bad brain, maybe many of us feel validated or recognize each other or connected in this way. And I do think that there's this invisible network of good bad brains that already exists, and that this podcast sometimes can serve just to highlight that and make us feel connected in that way, validated in that way. In a lot of ways, I'm realizing, because I'm very adamant that I'm not a professional and this is not therapy, in a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of the things that I've had happen that helped me with Al-Anon, 12-step program theory, basically, which seems to be that the magic of the program, to some degree, the major magic of it seems to be just people sitting and talking and sharing their experiences. And when you hear your own experience come out of somebody else's mouth, it's like, fuck, wow. I thought I was the only one who went through that. And something about it feels less impossible. And that phrase always pops to me. More possible, that I just want to feel possible. And that when I'm stuck in a bad place, I'm feeling impossible. You know, it's weird. I don't know. That's always just a phrase. So part of that sense of fomenting possibility, I think, always has had to do with the interviews, because it was about interviewing other brains, other people. And I definitely had the bent of initially wanting to like steal their secrets and offer answers and strategies and solutions. You know, for a while I would do that thing where I said, practical piece of advice each episode. Here's your practical advice for this episode. But the truth is, I don't have practical answers all the time. I don't think anyone does. That's not to say there aren't strategies that I'll continue to offer, that there aren't strategies that continue to work for me, but they don't work 100% of the time, and I don't have access to them 100% of the time, and everyone else out there is different. And I think that the major strength of this really is just the sharing, the hearing, the talking, the humanity, and the always doomed to fail attempts at understanding and comprehending and describing this experience of being a person in our good, bad brains and the mental stuff we all experience. So in the interests of more of that, I think I'd like to hear more from people out there who would like to share. And so if you listen and it's something that you would be interested in doing, just having some time to talk and put your experience out there into this container with me, reach out to me. You can usually get me on DMs and stuff, but a better spot would be to just email mygoodbadbrain@gmail.com. And maybe we can get this popping, you know? I think it might be a cool thing to start experiencing. I will continue to, select people at random from my own life for my own purposes because I think they have something to offer, or I want to ask them questions, or just I think they'd be interesting to talk to or something. But I would just like to open the floor for that if you're out there and it sounds appealing to you, like I said, I've had some people reach out to me. Let's try to figure that out. I got a couple people I think lined up already I want to talk to, but I think that would be nice. Also because it's an awkward thing sometimes to ask people. I don't find it awkward because I'm just kind of weird. So I go, you got any like mental stuff, like mental health stuff? Probably, that's how I usually say it. But, not everyone wants to talk about if they have some thing that still might be stigmatized by society. So it's hard for me sometimes to find people based on different sort of mental, prescribed, diagnosed disorders that are in the DSM. And the result is a melange of a lot of, depression, anxiety, and obviously I touch on ADHD a lot because of that. But I kind of would like to continue speaking to people who have specific things they've gone through that they think they'd like to share. And I would like to say that if you aren't sure if it would be valuable to anybody out there, because we all have that voice of self-doubt, it just is. If you are experiencing something like this and you feel like coming on and talking about it, just share with me and other people out there your experience, which I won't edit unless you ask me to, but that's very limited. It'll help someone. I think I've seen it happen on this. So, yeah, there you go. Include just, I don't know what you say in the subject line. I would be interested in sharing. If you have a specific, maybe a DSM named thing that you want to pop in that bar, let me know. I obviously will always just have to be emphasizing to everyone that we're not professionals in any capacity. And for the audience and stuff, saying I know that I'm opening up here to maybe unhealthy people, quote unquote, being on the show. And I'm going to do my best not to perpetuate any kind of fucked up stuff, but maybe we'll get some straight up crazy people, just like me, just like other people on the show. I don't know. But I think that it would be valid and valuable to sort of have some of these experiences. I got to check about age. I don't know. I don't have people sign releases for the show, which is something I probably should have done from the beginning. But I'm going to check. You might have to be over 18 just to keep things, you know, I don't know, legal or something. I'm not sure. I think I'm just going to enforce that for myself. So I apologize if you're under 18. Maybe I could do it with like a parent's note or something. But no offense. I just think it's like legal. And I will say for myself, anything you're experiencing when you're a teenager is so fucking enormous and so real and so temporary. And I know how the internet works, and I wouldn't want anybody under 18 to be tied or anchored to any kind of existing thing that feels sort of permanent or whatever up here. So I think I'm just going to call the audible right now to say we're going to limit this to folks who are over 18, which may be an arbitrary number that our society's just decided, but, you know, really I should probably make it over like 26 or something like that when your brain, quote unquote, stops developing. But speaking of someone who's 33, I don't think that would really make much difference anyway. So that's that. Thank you if you're on the Patreon, by the way. The Patreon's got a couple more subscribers lately, and it would be fucking rad if you're thinking about it. Sign up there. I don't know. This is why I'm saying that too, partly because I just come to appreciate it so much. Part of my thought here had to do with I started this other podcast called Fight Stuff, which is about violence, and it's totally different from this. Like, this is probably the yin, that's the yang. I still am me. So me and Zeke, my buddy, who I've known for a better part of a decade making stuff with, we talk about fighting, fight sports, martial arts, violent history, and things that are of interest to people who are interested in that stuff. And it's a very different, very irreverent, very not safe for work. I don't know. I don't think I'm less like woke police with myself. I don't know. And that made me scared a little bit when I started doing that, because I was like, who am I? Am I this good, bad brain person? Am I this like bro-y or what am I? And I realized it's all just me. I'm just Jarrett. And I think it's good to try to just be who I am instinctively. And if I am offensive or I do fucking fucked up things, I'd rather just do them and have somebody tell me and then try to adjust in the future rather than just pretend I'm not like that and hide out of fear and fake things and not be honest, and in that way make the world not better. I think it's better to like fuck up honestly and openly, and then anybody can learn from those fuck ups rather than just be too scared to do anything or be scared of who you might be. And if you're into that, if you're interested in, if you do any kind of fight sports or into like violent history or inexplicably attracted to violence, and you want to go have some silly goose times about fighting, check it out. Fight Stuff. It's on everything now. It's on the iTunes and the Spotify, and I'll probably make a Patreon for that too. But in the thought of that and what we're thinking about doing for that podcast, I was thinking more about Good Bad Brain, which has been here for almost a year now, and what else we can do with it. And so that's a lot where this thought has come, to opening the floor to more guests, more of each other, to kind of create this space for each other to talk to each other. I don't know. I've always had some idea somewhere in my head of creating something that would be, you know, in this world of vlogging and media and brands. I've always wanted to be an actor because I was obsessed, I felt, with other people and the stories they have, the experiences they have. The idea of an actor as a narcissist or an egotist, I never understood the idea of a star or a celebrity, because the obsession is about what being a person means and not even really knowing what I am and wanting to sort of better answer that question for myself and other people by exploring what it means to be people, to be a different person. And, and then also just to entertain and sort of create more delight or fascination or fear or excitement, anything that just sort of reminds you that you're alive and that's exciting and part of this big thing. And with that and with how the internet works and whatnot, I'm always looking for ways, even my poem project, trying to get someone else to pick the numbers. There's kind of this thing of trying to figure out a way you could create almost like a Humans of New York thing, a way that we could create a space where the focus was on each other, that like the thing at the center of the stage, I may be the ringleader, the showman bringing something out, but the thing that would be at the center of our circus, and yeah, I'm going to go with that fucked up metaphor because it's funny to me, would be each other, would be the audience itself, would be the individual human beings. I really think that every person's a poem and everybody has something to offer. So in the interest of that and this way too long check-in intro to this episode where I'm talking to a pal again, I would love if we could create something with that. If my good bad brain could become more co-created, and that the stemming came from the fight stuff, that doing this yang aspect of me and re-examining the yin that I was getting ready to abandon because of my dissatisfaction or confusion or lack of awareness. I thought maybe we could just lean into it and open it up to each other and to people out there. So that's that. Let's give it a shot. Let's see how this pod continues to grow and develop. Who knows? Who knows what it is? It's a place for us all to just, I think, live and make our living more possible as we explore our mental stuff and our existential stuff. And I think it would be great if some of y'all participate in that more directly, if you felt like it. Moving into a brief intro because I've been such a long one talking about the state of things. Today, I am joined by Ava Gordy, who I reached out to a little bit ago. Ava and I have always, I just was aware of her. We kind of catch each other in and out of the doors, I feel, at different jobs. Clever, what's trending, hosting jobs in this new media space. And I just always thought she was so fucking cool. In something about her resonated too as like, you don't belong here, which is how I always felt in these places. This pop culture hosting kind of thing is like, you're good at this, and I totally get needing a gig, but especially as she started to be more artistic in her expression on Instagram, with her dance and just her style, I was like, fuck, it was cool. And something about it always made me feel good. It just made me feel like more possible. I really think that's the thing I'm looking for out there. Something resonant and expressive and like, oh, dude, you're fucking going through the world in a wonderful way. And that makes me feel inspired to do it too. And that feeling made me want to have her on the pod because we barely know each other, just in a friendly way. And here I was feeling like fucking more possible because of this person. So I wanted to talk to her about that. So I asked her on. I ended up finding out there's kind of a lot of parallel similarities. So this resonance that I felt kind of feels founded. And, man, it's just a delightful talk about all kinds of stuff, especially like gender identity and changing over time and forgiveness of ourselves and others, especially in the call out culture that we live in. Yeah, it was just an awesome hang, and you kind of get to hang with us because we didn't chat for too long. I had to check. When I walked up to my house, I was walking back from a coffee place nearby, and she was outside the gate, and I asked her to walk with me to go check. I thought my car might have been parked in the street cleaning in the wrong spot, and city problems. So we chatted a little bit, but maybe 10 or 15 minutes, not too long before we get into this talk. And I think you really get to hear us hanging out for the first time. And I think I'm realizing more and more that's a thing that happens to this podcast a lot. And with the talking stick of the mic and this sort of strange imbued space we enter with just the intention of exploring these topics of being a person, of mental health, whatever, with my good bad brain, it creates definitely an elevated, sort of enhanced knowing or attempts to get to know. It's more formal than just sitting and talking with someone about nothing. But in ways, it feels almost realer. It feels truer. Because the artist in you that's interested in expressing truth is on blast. Because you're here consciously creating. You've created this space, this container to hold a creation in. And so the creation, the center drive, the core drive of all creation is a seeking of truth, I think. So yeah, it's kind of dope. I don't know. I think it's nice to just sit and be in the room as a person gets to know another person in a conscious way for the first time. Yeah. So I hope you dig it. I really enjoyed it. I feel like I made a new friend out of someone who was just an acquaintance. You know, probably would have said we're friends, but now I think we're friends. And that's fucking rad. All right. Let's get on with it. Let's talk to the lovely possible making, you know, this other weirdo, this other good bad brain out there who's out there without even knowing what she's doing, inspiring and just honest. We get so honest in this, talking about the weirdness of money, why we have some money issues, the gender stuff and our gender and beauty norm issues, dance and what that is. It's just a delightful time. And I hope that you get something out of it. Here we go. Ava Gordy.
Sure.
Great. Talk a little bit.
Hello, I'm talking a little bit. Okay.
I'm just gonna...
This feels nice. This feels like mic'd therapy.
Yeah,
like you're in kind of like a therapist chair.
That is a little bit of a therapist chair.
And I could like lay back.
You know, it's true. That's true. I always say I'm like trying not to let these be therapy sessions because I'm not qualified to do that.
Of course.
But
people like talking.
I think we all, people be talking.
Yeah, man.
People love to be talking.
And this is an opportunity to just get it all out.
Yeah, I've continued to be struck by the power of just people talking to each other. And definitely for myself, it becomes more and more therapeutic when I'm, especially in the Brain Breather episodes where I'm just talking to myself by myself. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I try to avoid, because I think sometimes therapy, the idea of therapy can be so scary and like off-putting.
Yeah.
Once you like ensconce this notion of we're just two people talking into, we're therapying.
Yeah, you're analyzing me.
Right, which I am not.
Well, right.
I am.
This doesn't feel like therapy in the sense where you're a therapist. It just feels like therapy and like I can talk about anything.
That I think which you can. I think is like you're done like Al-Anon or any 12-step stuff, AA kind of stuff?
I have actually been helping a friend right now.
Yeah.
And I went to like a few meetings to see what it's about. And yeah.
Al-Anons or other kind of
I went
thing?
to her AA meetings with her.
Yeah, I've gone to a couple AA meetings with other people, but I've gone to Al-Anon for myself and some things. And that's an interesting example, I think, of the power of just people talking to each other.
Yeah,
you're none of your pros. You're just... Right.
She finds like so much, I don't know, she relates to it so much whenever she hears shares. And I get it a lot more when I hear those shares. So I'm like, wow. This is great. Yeah. It's really helpful.
I didn't mean to like put you on the spot. I think,
that's all right.
I think there's like a whole like thing about the etiquette of not exposing people.
I know.
And things. But I didn't mean to say
I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
In particular.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. But that just talking to people. And I'm continuing to be struck by that because I'm getting like a weird spot with this. I'm always am. This podcast is such a weird thing. I've talked to other people, maybe you can make it more of a show. And I'm like, yeah, I know I could do that. I'm trying, but the nature of this thing has been not that. And it serves like me in a way that is not for that. I'm coming up on doing it for a year, which is like the first thing I've done consistently, maybe for a year. I mean, I missed a week last week, but I don't know. This amorphous thing that seems to be what people like about it is that it's like a weird place where we all, and I think there's like a royal we that like they're trying to create a space for anybody to come feel valid and
Yeah. No, I
out.
think making it too gimmicky podcasty show could ruin the vibe.
Yeah.
Some podcasts just don't need that.
It's definitely about the vibe.
It's about the vibe.
I think the thing I want to do, if anything, is just try to make more of the vibe. I put one thing out called a dream tape that I made a long time ago, which is like kind of like music, ambient, and some spoken word stuff and things.
Cool.
And I do like that. I think that would be more. It would be kind of neat to push that aspect of, like creating a space.
I know.
So I asked you to be on this podcast. This podcast kind of like happens. People come on the show for different reasons. This is another thing I was thinking about today was because I had somebody reach out to me and ask to be on the show who's like a listener. And I'm really, in the past that's happened a little bit, but for some reason this struck me at this moment that I was like, I think that's going to be a new avenue because this has definitely become a space. My thought was that like initially I was just approaching people I knew who I knew had mental health things or didn't know, but had some way of being and going through the world that I was like, oh, fuck that. I want to just know their secrets. I don't know, like, how are you okay or not okay or how do you get through?
Interesting.
And as that went, and then I think there's also a tendency to ask like influencery friends and things like that, which you do kind of fall into that category. But I've started to go away from that because I do think influencery types tend to have a similar set of unique life circumstances that is different than a lot of other folks with good, bad brains.
Right.
And I think that's important more and more to like be talking to these unexamined life brains because that's
very valid.
Much more of our experience, even people who are in the public eye, is like so private, basically.
Right.
And then I've gotten to this idea now. I think I'm going to start reaching out more to like allowing people to speak because I was worried about asking people on the show who I didn't deem sane or something like that. You know what I mean? Like who I didn't know and I couldn't vouch for.
Right.
And then I realized I can't really vouch for anyone. I don't know who anyone is. Even the people that I seem to like be like, oh, they should come and talk. They seem to go through the world in a good way. Those people I was like, I don't fucking know. I really don't.
Well, you're guessing. But everybody has had some kind of mind fuck that they've been through that they can talk about. Yeah. Despite like even if they're not diagnosed.
Especially more and more some people who are diagnosed and maybe with some more like difficult or things more like life altering things.
Right.
That not events but like schizophrenia or things like that I think would be interesting to if I could find anybody who wanted to, or I've had some people reach out. So I think I'm going to like start going that way. With you, I think you fall into very much that realm of the former more than the other, where I don't know anything about you. I know you like tangentially, I know you like in the world where we were hosted at the same places and we'd always miss each other on the way out. And honestly, it mostly had to do with like your Instagram presence, I guess, which is where I'd see you the most. And I knew that you did some dance stuff, and then you cut your hair, and you had this like style, and it sounds funny. It sounds almost superficial, I guess, to cite those things as why somebody appeals to you. But I do think like at least the hair cutting in our culture has like a significant, much more like cultural significance because you're a girl and you cut all your hair off. And I apologize. I don't know if you like prefer another gender thing or something.
No, I mean, we can talk about it if you want. But
yeah, well, so that was
later.
kind of the realm I wanted to. That's why I reached out initially. I guess I was just like, and I think I messaged you something too, just like how your shit just like inspires me. Like I see your presence online and I'm just like, fuck, Ava's cool. Like, and that's such a funny, like cool is such a silly word, But
right.
in a world that's global warming, that's so hot all the time. No, but you know what I mean? I don't know. There's something about it.
I remember getting that message.
Yeah.
And it means a lot to me.
Great.
To hear that. No, it's cool. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I just want to put things that are like, that feel authentic to me and feel scary.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So like everything that I post is, I'm scared, but because it feels so close to me.
Okay.
Like, cause I don't feel fake.
Yep.
And I don't feel like not authentic, but I think I'm so scared that people are going to think I'm like doing too much or trying really hard, or maybe I'm bad. Like, am I a bad dancer and I don't know?
Okay.
You know, like, so a lot of those things, I just feel
things.
I think all of those things
Not
too.
about you, but I mean myself.
But, you know, and I just want to think like, okay, this is how I am in this moment and I want to share it because mostly I want to look back on it for myself.
That, I agree with that. Maybe that's what resonated, because I do try to like, I do like Instagram a lot, and I think of myself like, these are gonna be cool pictures to look at when I'm old, or if I have like, you know, my nephew's older and stuff like that. But like that is so tough for me. I don't know, because you know, I want to work in entertainment and want to be an actor still. And so much of that shit, especially if you're like a brand, like a YouTube brand, like you're supposed to like have some brand, and it makes me uncomfortable sometimes in different ways. Like, and one of them is this tendency to be like, okay, so I've done this good bad brain thing, and being like vulnerable is something people seem to like. But then I've started to get like resentful of it in myself, where I'm like, oh, am I identifying too much as like this person, this like fucked up person who's like sad and vulnerable all the time? And partly it's like, well, you are sad and vulnerable all the time, but also like, I'm also not that. I do jujitsu and I'm kind of a bro and I'm kind of like a piece of shit sometimes.
I've never gotten that vibe from you.
Well,
I wouldn't
good.
say that the brand I get from you is like sad and vulnerable.
Well, that's good. That's great to hear. But I guess
think it's a mix.
Well, that's good. You know what I mean? Where
yes, but I totally get that.
You get trapped in like, well, this is what I think of my brand, and maybe it is that whatever I fell into, because if I just felt like I was being broy or athlete guy or something, or you know, like not even when I say the broy athlete thing, it's more this kind of thing of like, here's the yin yangs I feel like I bounce between in my life is like ultra sensitivity. Every moment is pain. Every person's a poem. Everything's so beautiful and overwhelming, and I want to die.
Yeah.
And then just like, fuck it. What am I talking? Who cares? You know, like get it together. You know what I mean? I feel like hard on those yin yangs.
Well, this is why the idea of a brand is impossible. You can't market yourself as just one thing and then feel that way the rest of your life. Yeah. Like, it will just change naturally. Like, there are so many people that I still look at who are apologizing all the time for posting what they want to post.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people who are like, I'm really sorry if you guys don't want to see this, but I hope you enjoy it, or some of you at least. You know, there's like so many people who are very timid about the things they share because it's not their brand, or they feel like they've strayed from their brand and they're going to lose people because of it. But it's who you are. If you want to post something, if you want to say something, if you want to do something, post it.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, I
feel like I've gotten far from scared. I used to be like very, like my feed matched. Like I edited every photo to like make all my photos look the fucking same because I thought that was like an important thing to do. And then it just got like really exhausting. And I'm like, am I really exhausted by my feed? Because that's dumb.
Yeah, right.
And I can't do that to myself. But in the moment, that's like what I wanted to do. So I can't like...
Yeah, that's a good attitude to have about it. That moment to moment okayness with whatever your impulse is.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It is. It is. I'm not going to say it's not.
Because you like look back on yourself sometimes and you're like, oh.
I know.
I want to look at that.
Like, I guess that's what I wanted to do. But it feels very try hard to me.
Yeah. And why do you think try hard is such a fucking awful concept? Because it is. It feels, meaning not like, I'm not saying it is absolutely.
No,
I can look at it objectively and go like, oh, everyone's fine. We're all tryhards, fine. But like, why do you think tryhard feels so fucking gross?
It does feel, I don't know.
And those people who are able to pull off the illusion of it, people that, and they seem to have a lot of, you know, lauded. They're lauded for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when You have no fucking idea if it's try hard or not.
I know.
I find myself like, yeah, for sure. I guess part of the yin yang thing too is like this argument between like your organic, weird, instinctive reaction to things, which feels very programmed and very like the colology stuff we were talking about,
right?
Or like my higher self of how I quote unquote really feel.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm constantly struck by is how like things that I don't really care about, like youth obsession or things like that, I'm like instinctively will be like, oh, I'm never gonna be like just an effortlessly cool kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've felt those things too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there's, I don't know how to explain myself sometimes.
No one does.
I always feel like I have the perfect words and then I don't because it's in my head, but I can't get it out.
Try.
Sorry.
That's why you're a dancer.
I know. It's
That's
so much
actually
easier.
true.
It really, yeah.
That's why I'm so fucking jealous and I'm inspired by dancers because I think you have the shortest. You have the shortest production line from impulse to creation.
Yeah.
Which is why I like acting also, but acting does require like words to some degree and sometimes not. But that's also why I like acting. It's very ADD friendly where you can working with a director or something and they you get ideas and they're like, all right, well, let me try another take. Let me try this.
Yeah.
And then you just stop talking and you go do a thing and they're like, that's it.
Yeah.
And that's so satisfying as opposed to like if you want to make a movie or,
right.
you know, music, you have to like write and do all this stuff.
I've always been jealous of eloquent speakers though. Like I like that I can, you know, I have a medium of dance where I can share, you know, what I feel in that moment. But I get jealous when people just talk well.
Yeah,
I'm always like,
that.
damn, that was beautiful. Or they say the right thing and you're just like, wow.
I know.
And I don't ever feel like I have said something that was that poignant. Like when I listen to some people talk, I'm like, how do you formulate the words?
I'm going to let you keep talking while I blow my nose.
On $1 bill?
No,
oh my God, that would have been sick. That would have been so funny if you were just like, listen, I'm so fucking rich. I blow my nose on
that's
$1
how
bills.
I am. I'm definitely so rich. Please subscribe to the Patreon. I need it. I need it so bad.
Give Jarrett more $1 bills so he can blow his nose into. Oh my God. $1 a podcast helps a lot.
This is good podcasting.
Am I saying the right things? At least it's not directly into the mic. You really could have gone for it.
I know. I was being friendly.
He's been sick, guys.
I've been on antibiotics for like 4 days. It's all healthy now. But it's all cleaning out.
Oh, for sure.
I have no equilibrium in my brain right now. It's very disorienting as one of my ears hopefully pops.
Do you edit these?
No.
Question?
Not usually. Sometimes. I mean, if you say like some racist stuff or something, I'll cut that out.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I was really planning on just saying a bunch of offensive shit.
Yeah, because after all that talk about transparency, I'm still going to protect people from everyone knowing how evil they are.
Wow, interesting. Would I do that? Maybe. Probably not.
Do you do what?
Would I do that for someone?
Cut out their evil?
Yeah. Cut out their evil. Damn.
Yeah, I mean...
You said that in such a poetic way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Speaking of eloquent, I also think about that eloquent thing. If you just say talk all the time, eventually you'll do something good. I just have the shotgun approach to talking.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't know how to edit, you know?
Sorry, this is so unrelated, but I keep hearing your Chicago accent.
Yeah.
And I'm also from Chicago.
You are?
And I feel like
talk about this,
yeah,
maybe.
I feel like it's come up.
Where are you from?
But then I forget. I'm originally from Lamont, which is near Downers Grove, like Orland Park kind of.
Yeah, I'm from Highland Park originally.
Okay. And then I moved to Elmwood Park.
Where's Elmwood Park?
Which is like
west side of the city?
Yeah, yeah. It's just outside the city on the west side.
Is it by Oak Park?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is right there.
Because when I was a kid, my godfathers had they lived like in Oak Park, and but I don't remember it. I remember just going to Oak Park when I was a tiny kid. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
That's right. How long you been out here?
It'll be 5 years soon.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Oh, okay. You're younger than I thought. I don't mean that in like. I mean, people are weird about age now,
That's
but
right.
I'm like, I just think everybody's my age, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think
that's
I'm getting
kind of how
older.
I thought you were older than I thought.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. How old did you think I was?
Probably just 30.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I thought you were saying you thought I was older than 33. And
No. When you said 33, I was like, oh, 33, huh?
Yeah, I know.
That's
I know. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
That's how I feel too. 33, huh? Fuck.
33, huh? Even 26 is different to say because I turned 26 in January, which I guess is not that short of time ago, but 26 still feels weird to say.
26 is, I do think 25-ish is like it's a big step.
Yeah.
Plus you're hitting I think 27 is the one to survive traditionally for entertainers, you know? But it is real that I think that's a tough window. Mm-hmm. You seem to be doing okay though.
I mean, I'm poor, but other than that, I'm okay.
I'm poor too.
Yeah. It's
poor
rough
is hard
out here.
Poor is hard in LA.
It hurts my feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know how else to say it. Like, I hurt.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I can't buy anything.
Yeah.
I can't get groceries until I get my paycheck.
Yeah.
I'm like hoping to God I make rent.
I gotta say, at least
rough.
It's better that you're there, because I've been bad like about budgeting and knowing how to do things.
Yeah,
I think it does create this very like feast or famine mentality too, and creates. I mean, I'm trying this like part late in my life to like sort out money trauma in a big way, which sounds like. That sounds so fucking modern, snowflakey to say, my money trauma or something. But
yeah, no.
It's true. I got some ideas about money when I was younger. It came from basically, I was like working as a busboy at this restaurant in high school. And, you know, I'd work like all fucking weekend. Your feet would hurt because you had to wear these dress shoes and just like horrible and barely make enough money to like pay my cell phone bill or something. And then I got like a voiceover job and I make like $1,000 in 20 minutes. And you were like,
right.
So all this idea of like you work hard and then that's not real, I guess, huh, guys? And that kind of fucked me up. And then continued to just, I don't know, my family went through weird phases too. Like when I was young, we were like pretty well off. Like we were pretty fucking rich by any, you know, stretch of the imagination.
Bruh,
My dad was like lawyer.
We have the same.
Yeah. And then
This
my
is
dad
the
got like
same.
disbarred and had some, really?
Dude, he wasn't a lawyer, but like he was making a lot of money, and then his company went under. And then it was like dire.
Yeah.
So we went from like very well off
to
just dire. And my mom did not adjust.
Yeah.
Spent so much money.
Yeah, my family's pretty much like that.
Yeah. And then I got horrible money habits.
Yeah, because I just don't know what it means.
Right, because I don't get it.
And it doesn't seem to make sense to me that, you know, this silly thing that seems meaningless affects like if your electricity works or not, you know, or it just, it's
I feel really
weird.
privileged in a lot of ways because of how I was raised and brought up.
Well, you know what's one thing about that you might have some similar thing to that? Because I grew up in Highland Park, which is like a really rich area. And even when things were like getting weird, like you don't know what's going on behind anybody's doors. Like we lived in this nice place, these nice houses, and then like the power would be getting shut off and like a lot of craziness.
Yeah.
But also I realized like, did you grow up like rich kids or like so like you'd have these sleepovers at their houses and you know be in these houses.
Oh my god, insane houses,
insane
movie theaters and shit.
And it's I realized like what a weird privilege it is to just like be comfortable around wealth,
right?
In the sense that like because then I spent so much time away from it that you know recently again I like helped somebody move or something like that and was in this like insane house again. And just being like, this house has a fucking elevator in it.
Yeah.
And being like, dude,
this is nuts.
If I didn't grow up around these houses and I came into one of these and I had always lived in a apartment, I'd be like, we should guillotine the rich and eat them now.
Yeah.
Like people live like this.
It's wild.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And I think there's something too weird about like while we're on the topic of like class and money and stuff is like, rich people love to give other rich people money, and that's like a real thing. You see it pass back and forth in business and whatever. And if people just get the sense that you are also wealthy, they'll like be like, "Oh, here, you're in this club. You should have this stuff," you know.
Right.
And I've noticed it in my brother and people who like in some of their business dealings in the past, like just their ability to be comfortable around rich people, be in rich environments, and not like it's not weird to them.
Yeah.
Is definitely like a weird leg up.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like once you like go into the starving artist thing, it's super weird. It's super weird to like be around people who are rich and have that be this elephant in the room to some degree as late stage capitalism and like entertainers and whatever.
Yeah, and I don't know how to act.
Like it's not a big deal.
I'm like very strange. I don't know how to act.
I mean, I can't tell you how many fucking cocktail hour entertainment business things I've been to where I was like, I'm gonna eat a lot of this food.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Where I'm like, I'm gonna go
where
crazy at this snack table.
I go to I'm invited to some random party that's like really ritzy.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't fit here, dude.
No. Well, you realize like entertainment industry stuff, like one of the best parts and perks of it is like they buy your lunch.
Yeah.
And shit like that. And I definitely for a year, I mean, I still have like a little bit of a scarcity mentality where I'm like, if someone else is paying for it, if it's like.
I steal craft services because
no.
I'm like, I need these chips.
Oh, yeah.
So
like
I can have
anytime we have a shoot, I'm like very serious about like, whatever's left over from lunch, I'm like, who's taking this stuff home?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I know there's some fucking PAs here. I know there's people who are like,
yeah,
this is legit. Like, you do you have roommates? You want to take this tray of potatoes that's left over? Because,
because we're
it's
all
weird.
dying.
Yeah, isn't that?
Like,
it's very strange.
Yeah.
It's very strange to live in this time where ostensibly we're all free and equal and anybody can make their way. And there's truth to that. I see that all the time.
Yeah.
Sure. But also it's sort of like this late stage, it's like kind of a new kind of feudalism is how it feels, where you really are just hoping, we're all hoping that like one of the MCNs or whatever, some company, some media conglomerate, we get some crumbs from the table and we get a job and then you're like a serf. You're like a serf to that lord, to that fiefdom.
Yep.
And how good it feels to be a serf because you're under their wing.
And then the company shuts down.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, fuck. Now I got to convince another lord.
I know.
It's very Game of Thrones out there.
Yeah, and I'm like, do I even want to convince another fucking conglomerate-ass company to take me on just so they can shut down and I can be fucked again?
Right.
In this like media industry, which is so unreliable and so not stable. The second you think you're stable, it collapses.
Yes, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
Dave, is that your experience? Do you feel that philosophy generally?
Yeah.
Do you think that's because of your family and stuff?
Ooh. I mean,
I don't mean this as a therapy question.
No, it
I'm
might have a lot.
Myself.
It really might have a lot to do with my dad's company being like kind of hit or miss.
Yeah.
Like depending on where he was, we were either like so well off or like really struggling.
By the way, isn't that funny that we both say well off? Do you say comfortable too?
Comfortable, yeah.
We're well off.
But I'm not ashamed to admit. And
no, I know. I don't think you are. I just think it's funny that we learn the same dialect
I think
around
comfortable
wealth.
is like definitely notches below where we were at certain points.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, because like it was very.
I just noticed even very rich kids. I can look back now and be like, "Oh, you were rich."
Yeah,
and my family,
I guess I don't say rich.
We're comfortable.
I haven't said rich a lot.
No one ever says that. No
to
one
describe
would
themselves.
ever say that. Yeah.
It's hard to say.
It's weird.
It is strange, but yeah, like, and I think losing.
Well, also, because like, what's rich? You know.
I know. Like, where is the line?
Yeah.
Because I was rich, but there was much richer.
Yeah.
Like, that's just fact.
Yeah, we live in a very strange world.
Well, anyways, I don't know. I was just saying, like, having companies shut down underneath me has also been very annoying.
Well, I have a tendency to feel. I always had this phrase in my head that like you stand on rugs so that they can be pulled out from under you. Yeah. That like that was just the pattern and way of life was like, you know. Yeah. And that's something I'm trying to shake because it's prevented me from. I think trying to build too much of my own because I'm like, everything falls apart, which is a bad assumption to go through life with. I might get to that point, but I think right now I'm at the point where why don't I just do things for myself and hope that they take off and do well. Yeah. And be successful. Like that's all I can do. I mean, at the time I'm like still trying to find work. That I would enjoy, maybe hosting. I don't know. You don't know. I mean, especially after Defy closed, I'm just going to be honest. I didn't fit in at Clever. It was wild that I was there. Well, neither did I. That's part of why I think maybe on the fringes I was always like, oh, because I felt that way about you at fucking What's Trending. What's Trending, yeah. I always felt this weird. I was like glad for the work and the opportunity. It was strange to go in there. I mean, when I worked at Clever, I got this job at Clever early. Actually, Lisa Schwartz recommended me to go in, and I auditioned and had good chemistry with Tracy, and we ended up doing this like Man on the Street show for a while. they didn't know what they show on that show to be. They just knew it was about pop culture. And I don't give a fuck about pop culture. Every week I'd be joking about like, hey, do you guys want to talk about this part of the Syrian civil war on the street today? Do you think that? Oh no, just do Fetty Wap lyrics again. That's cool.
All right, fine.
Which is so silly, but like, I still think a Man on the Street show about like very topical, fucked up things because people say the craziest shit. They'll just give you the stupidest opinions. Anyway, so I felt very strange there. So much so that like. They made us reshoot the first promo because I was wearing a T-shirt that had a rip in it or something. They were like, "He's just wearing a T-shirt," and they're like, "This wardrobe," and it became this whole joke forever about like my T-shirts or something. That I was like, so I had to put these like preppier kind of wardrobe on, and it was just such a weird.
This was a thing for me too. Yeah, I had to really fight with the makeup artists. It was it was a really big problem for me as far as my gender went, because at the time I was like, I'm done wearing like fucking false eyelashes. Like this is crazy. And when I went in there, immediately they were like, okay, go into hair and makeup. And I didn't say a word, and they like caked me. Yeah. In something that did not look like me.
The very clever E-News.
And like, listen, it looks gorgeous on so many of those girls. Totally. Like they're beautiful women there. Yeah. But to me, I was like, this is wrong. And it just felt wrong. Yeah, it felt very wrong. And all of a sudden I started conforming to it because I was like, I have to keep this job.
Well, how does that feel? I mean, that's interesting to me here. Like I just will offer that when the few times I've been like, I get glammed up makeup, like I did the first time I got like full glam was like, I did this Ingrid Michaelson music video that and a friend directed the video, and I guess somebody came, they were trying to recreate this old music video of I forget the fucking name, but like anyway, which the original one was with women and it's very 80s, like slicked back hair and big red lips and this whole thing, and they just gender swapped it. And mostly gender swapped it. There's some women mixed in too, but the whole idea was to make it more like genderqueer, I guess. And so I came in, and it was basically like full drag, basically, but without the wig. Like just eyelashes and big red lips and like all this stuff, like heavy. And I remember being like, whoa. I was like, I'm so pretty. Like I really liked it. It felt good. And so that's why I was just offering like my weird experience of my limited exposure to big makeup. But you're saying you'd get it on, and then you'd be like,
I am sure that if I grew up a man... and they first did that to me, I'd be like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But because I have gone through a lot of phases in my life where I had a beauty channel. I was making makeup tutorials. I was not bad at following trends and figuring that shit out. And then I realized I didn't know who I was doing that for. Yeah. I went through a really big thing where I was like trying so hard. I was like, don't put on makeup. Don't do it. You have to be comfortable with your face. Because I would look in the mirror at my natural face and be like, that's hideous.
Interesting.
And I couldn't leave my house. And that's fucked up.
Yes.
Which is why that colology episode of Ologies was so fascinating to me.
Right.
Because I went through that and I didn't know any other way. And so when I finally gave it up, and then like a year later, Clever's like caking me with makeup. It was very hard.
Oh, so that went, I see. So
yeah, like I had already given it up. And then I went back to it.
And so it didn't feel like, oh, this is fun to do again. Sometimes it felt like, fuck this again.
Yeah. And like the award shows, like needing to wear a dress was fucking weird.
I know.
I called in sick one day because I put on a dress and I was like, oh no.
You just didn't like it?
And then I like, because at that time I didn't have the wardrobe I have now. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, am I a man? Like fully, I was like, I might be male. Yeah. Because I was so uncomfortable at Clever that like I was fighting it so hard that I was like, maybe I'm not a woman. Like this feels so strange. Yeah. It took me a long time, but now I've come to the term that like I am a woman. I'm just like a different kind of woman. Yeah. Like there are different types of females and I'm just different. And that's okay. Yeah. And it's still female.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Because but
it was hard.
That's definitely, I don't know. I've always, we live in an interesting time about like gender and sexuality and all that stuff. I think I have a weird, I have a weird thing about it where it's not like a traditional. I don't think it's a traditional cultural cishet male reaction to like. I think when I was in high school, I felt that my theater department, our teacher, who was like a huge mentor of mine, he was gay and he was amazing. But he was young for a teacher, and we got him at least like I heard stuff from like generations before that was like, you know, when you're really young, imagining teachers in their mid-20s or late 20s like being high school teachers, that must be very confusing for them to, you know what I mean? Like, because you're not that separate.
Yeah.
And I think, and plus he's into theater, and it, you know, that gets all weird. And so the ease to have like crushes on teachers and want their approval, and maybe some, what we'll just say transference, you know, like what they call it in therapy, that the teacher might have some inappropriate feelings or connections to. Okay. I feel like you'd see that a lot. And it became kind of like a joke almost that boys, heterosexual guys in the theater department would have like these crises of like, I don't know what my sexual identity is, because they knew they'd get attention for it on some level. And they'd have private time with our teacher, who was like amazing, such a cult of personality. Not his fault, and it became this thing that was like, oh, did you hear so-and-so's like questioning their sexuality. But
what if they were?
Well, that's my thing. Maybe they were. Maybe they were. Why do people end up in theater at all? But because we were just shitty teenagers, and because we were like, everyone gossips, and I was so embroiled in that world, and I was just like, plus I feel like I got this attitude. I started like leaving the school to do theater in the city young, and I just like would get so grossed out by like theater culture stuff like that, like all the like massage circles and things, that I was just like, I fucking hate this. I just want to do theater. I just want to tell stories about the truth. You know, it was like that Chicago, like, you know, storefront
this
theater.
This is how I was with dance.
Yeah,
100%.
Right. We're like storefront theater. We're like, I'm doing it for real, okay? Don't give me that fucking bullshit. And so I had this thing about it that then when I get older and when I'm looking at myself and I have my own little like weird things about, I feel that, I mean, that's again part of why you resonate with me in the world as some kind of reflection feeling or something, was like, because I get my own gender feelings where like I've been like, I don't even know if I'm a man also, and, and these things, and feeling like very female inside, but at least to this point in my life, not like really ever meeting a guy that I, you know, maybe two on my hand I can count, that like I was like, I fucking feel different feelings for them that I usually only feel for women, but like never, you know, being in a relationship with a guy, never like doing any of that stuff, that you're just like, okay, so am I just doing it for attention now? Is it like woke cool? Is it like, what am I, you know? And on top of it, I have a weird thing in my brain too about, it's very, I mean, not to sound like a fucking turf, but like, it's a weird thing of like I remember hearing about like how like RuPaul will like won't let women on Drag Race or something like that, or I think trans, you know, women on
they just had one last
it was a new thing, but like prior to that, it's just like, oh, what a weird idea that like that like you'd still be like, no, only men allowed, and only men are allowed to be the epitomized expression of femaleness. And you know, and I don't know, I just always felt weird about it. I was like kind of like, as a cishet white male, I was like, it's just live in your fucking box, dude. Everybody else has to. That like, you know, don't make this your domain also. You know what I mean? Where you just start to like figure out ways to put yourself away, or at least quietly deal with it. But I really do relate to that. I said to Alien one time, I was like, I must have the weirdest fucking search algorithms, because it's like all this like gay and drag humor and stuff like that. Like I love like Brian Jordan Alvarez, and I don't know if they're so fucking funny. Yeah. And then like gun videos, like shooting tutorials and video and like video gamers.
Interesting.
You know, like just this weird. But anyway, but I was just like, so I don't know, that I do relate to that thing of like, what, I don't know. And I have also come to feel like I had Reed on the show. We talked about being trans stuff a little bit, because, and one thought that came up there for me, I think everybody has their own journey, and there are people who have true dysphoria about their bodies and know they're not supposed to be in it. Yeah. And then for me, it wasn't that. There was definitely a feeling of like, no, I'm supposed to have this body, and this struggle of confusion between its male feelings and its male chemicals, and then my sort of inner self that has some more yin female, like that negotiation is something that is part of me.
Yes, I would agree with that too. Yeah, I when I was like in the middle of questioning, I was thinking about what would it be like if I took T? Like if I started taking testosterone. And then I was like, okay, I don't necessarily want facial hair. I don't necessarily want like cut muscles or like even a different body type. So that was a big thing for me. I was like, I don't think that's necessary as of now. I mean, I don't know if that's going to change. Yeah. But I think the things that I was dealing with was more what society was putting on women.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, okay, well, if that's what a woman is, then I don't feel like a woman. Rather than like my body doesn't feel right, you know?
Yeah.
And like coming to terms with and trying to figure out what am I doing for pleasure and what am I doing because I was told to?
Yeah.
And like so much of, I mean, and I'm sure this affects men to an extent, but I think like shaving is insane. Like I don't know where it started.
Oh, like your body, like your legs and stuff?
Like it literally just started from a company who wanted money.
Yeah.
And they were like, who can we get to shave women?
Interesting. I think that's very possible.
Yeah, like
that's very
and
possible.
then being hairy became a masculine thing when it wasn't before.
Yeah.
No one shaved.
That's true. I mean, definitely men tend to be hairier with their faces and stuff.
But like having hair on my legs, that starting that journey was a bigger deal than I thought. I cried about it.
Really?
Starting to grow back my armpit hair, cried. It's like a huge deal.
Yeah.
And like I am so, it's like embarrassing how big of a deal that was.
Huh.
But it was like so pushed on me, especially as a dancer.
Yeah.
Wearing a leotard, partnering with a man. If you are like hairy, it's like gross. It's looked at as like disgusting.
Yeah.
And not beautiful and not a ballerina.
Right.
And I grew up a ballerina. So that it was even harder.
I know what you mean.
You know,
it's especially strange that it's so enforced among dancers, because I do feel like dancers like in my idea of a dancer,
there's a ghost.
Something fell. That you tend to be dancers tend to be to me like more tactile and more like living and like wilder in this way that doesn't really mix with arbitrary
I think
beauty regimens.
Certain dance styles for sure.
For sure.
Modern dance is like very open as far as like haircuts and makeup, stage makeup, and all of that. But ballet,
what I mean is like, don't you? Yes, for sure.
Insane.
Yeah, well, that's the point is it's also regimented and so like,
and very old school.
Do you still teach it sometimes? Even
I pretty much only teach ballet. I grew up doing ballet. It was all I did. I mean, I did jazz, but like I was a fucking ballerina.
Yeah.
And, wore my hair in a bun, wore a ton of stage makeup, wore leotard and tights and skirts.
Yeah.
And that was like my uniform all the time.
What appeals about it?
The movement. And that's it.
How come? Like, what about the movement?
I like things that have names. I like being able to say a sentence in like Tombe Padware, Glissade Soda Shah, and everyone who's a ballerina will know how to do that. There's something that's like kind of mathematical about it. Yeah. Like as far as a school subject to compare it to, it's like art, but it's the most scientific dance form because it's so like every step has a name, every arm position, every head, it has a name. And so it's like easy to just say and like see it and go, yeah, I know what that was. Instead of like contemporary where if I did this, it's like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
An arm wave, but then you could think it's this.
Is that like what appeals to, because it's interesting to hear you be like chafe at the idea of the box of social beauty norms.
Isn't that wild?
But then you find some freedom or something in this more regimented style of dance.
It's very interesting. It probably reflects a lot on my life because while I'm free in my expression, I like routine. I like my life to be very the same. I enjoy the comfort in that, in knowing what I'm doing every day and like having a schedule.
Which is probably making you fucking
I'm a
crazy.
Capricorn.
Oh yeah, Capricorn. But it's probably making you crazy, this like post job thing, this freelance art thing. Yeah, it makes me nuts.
I feel insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like, do you think it's like, is it like a haiku or like a villanelle? You know what I mean? Like you have like a form.
Yes.
And that allows you some like, well, okay, I know my constraints, but you don't have the blank page.
Yeah. I think like there's people who enjoy the like spontaneity of life and they don't dwell in this like, you know what I think it is? I'm very now.
Yeah.
I have a hard time going, well, in a few months I'll be okay and I'll be doing this and it'll be great. I'm like, right now sucks. And so I'm just thinking of that. I'm not even thinking like it's going to suck forever. All I can think of is that at the moment it sucks.
You're a dog. Now.
Yeah.
Life is now.
Yeah.
Life is now. So, I mean, that's how I am.
Right. I just more live in the present. And I know so many people around me who live in only future, who are just thinking like, oh man, in 5 years, I'm going to be like the next biggest. And they're still passionate and they show that and they work on it every day. And you're like, wow,
I'm trying to cultivate that. That's hard.
I really am trying.
I mean, I see it in Allie. I see it in people in my life who I'm trying to steal from them a little bit to cultivate this like holding a vision, some like magical thinking bullshit. Because it's really hard for me.
Me too.
And the result is this: like I'm 33 and I've like had a string of strange adventures that I think are dope. But like, what is it built to?
Yeah.
And that is frustrating. And I would like something that because I also feel part of it seems to be like plan making, because like you said, I don't have a problem. I find comfort knowing where I'm going to show up and what I'm going to do. And then I like to work. Like when I'm
Me too.
in it, I know how to, like, that's always loved acting. Like if you get a movie or a play, like I loved knowing for like 6 months or whatever, or maybe 2-3 months, like what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And just have this time to show up and do that job. And it's so satisfying because I like to work. I think it's weird when you're this kind of a person, because if you don't have that, you can seem very lazy.
Yeah.
But you're like, I just don't know what to do.
Yeah, I just don't have it right now.
So I'm going to do nothing very diligently.
Right.
Like I'm
I'm working really hard right now. Every day is full. It's not that I'm chilling on the couch 24/7.
Right.
I'm like booking myself for like dumb shit and just like shit in the interim. I don't know what I'm doing really.
Right.
I'm not making any money doing any of the things I've got going on.
I do that too.
But like I'm passionate about them and I'm having fun, and that's really all I can do.
Yeah, and you feel like it's sort of tangentially somehow related to your thing of being a creative person, and so it's got to add up to something.
Right. But I also still feel lazy. Especially if I'm not making money, it really feels like, well, what am I doing?
I know. That's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Because I get that too. And there's some truth to it. It's like, I got to fucking figure out how to do that. I don't know. I feel very broken sometimes. Like, I feel like such a fucking idiot. Like, I'm like, I just don't know how to fucking do this stupid ass thing. Like, it feels so arbitrary. It feels like, and I've tried to approach those feelings and I've therapy, like my wounds around money, and I've done a lot of disentangling over this last year, which has been good. But it still sometimes is just like, I don't spend like a fucking idiot. I'm not irresponsible. I just don't. I'm working. I'm doing stuff all the time. I just don't know how to do the thing that so many other people in society can just do.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
Trust me, I feel you a lot. I feel crazy. I'm like, why is everyone else okay? Like,
well,
it feels
that's a question too, even unrelated to money, where you're like, well, one, I'm like, maybe everyone's not okay.
Oh yeah.
Which is an obvious thing that people will be like, well, they're probably not okay. But the other thing is, I don't know. I think a lot of people are okay.
I think a lot of people are okay. Especially like the people I've surrounded myself with. I mean, I think like either they're not telling me, or like I'm just weirdly honest. Because I feel like the people I hang out with.
That's what I think. I think I'm weirdly honest.
Right. Is it just
to the point that sometimes people close to me are like, stop doing that.
And they start pitying me and stuff. And I'm like, I don't mean it. I don't mean to say like, oh yeah, I'm not working anywhere. I'm broke. Like I'm comfortable saying that, but I don't mean for you to say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I just like,
No, I think that's the thing is I'm not trying to drag anyone down. I'm not even trying to drag myself down. I think what I'm trying to adjust now is that sometimes I think maybe it does. Maybe it like I start to get this idea about that's who I am and I'm telling that story over and over. And it's not really accurate. Like just as accurate as like I've done amazing things. I have like a really like growing little business thing. I've done some really dope stuff I've produced even in recent history. It's like fine, you know?
yeah.
But there's still maybe it's just this doom feeling of capitalism of like it's never going to end. The suck is never going to end. So you better figure out like how to get a mountain of fucking gold to sit on.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I am doing great stuff.
Yeah.
Like in the past few months have like a laundry list of great things that I've done.
Yeah. So why do you think those don't stick for us?
I don't have money.
Yeah.
Like, I really feel like it stems from me still being poor.
And that there's this weird thing of like,
money
if you don't figure out,
the success.
Yeah.
And like eyes equals success.
Oh, eyes. See, that I think is true too and fucking kind of fucked up. Because sometimes I'll be like, I'll have like a week or something where I'm like, oh, I got a lot of eyes this week. But I didn't get a lot of money this week. But it doesn't feel, where I should be focusing on like, oh, well, let's just keep developing the business and getting business things going. I'll look back and be like, no, I was really busy. I did a lot of stuff. But you need I don't know, I'm trying to figure out that like work-life balance. And it's funny because I think I use those words to mean the opposite of what they usually do. Like, my work is the stuff that I don't get money for.
Yeah.
So I need to look at the life stuff so I can live my life. Usually it's the other way around.
Yeah.
It's like, take care of your life and live your life and then do some work. No,
Right.
you don't understand. I need to do the work I need to do is free.
Yeah.
I need to do that for free.
Yeah.
But then the life stuff is, lifeblood. I don't know. It's just weird to live in this time where we're all left to fend for ourselves and sink or swim. And
Did you go to college?
I didn't. I went to a little bit.
Me
I'm
too.
actually about to take another class. I'm super pumped about.
Wait, where'd you go?
I went to Columbia College for like one
I went to Roosevelt.
semester. So there we go. Oh my
Across
God,
the
we're like
street.
weird parallel people.
How many years did you go?
About half of one.
I did 2 years.
Oh, good job.
Okay.
I stopped because I went. Basically, what happened was my siblings, my family was falling apart. I had a bunch of siblings. And I told myself that I knew that they wanted to go to college for real things. I was already doing theater, and I was like, I'll sign up to 2 schools to make my mom happy. I'm going to stay in the Chicago area. I was like, I signed up for Columbia because there's no admissions process, and I applied to Columbia, University of Chicago.
Yeah.
And because I got good test scores and whatever, but I didn't do good grades because I just didn't do my homework shit. I didn't get into University of Chicago. My thought was, if I get into University of Chicago, I'll do that. Let's just go do academia. I'll get like a history degree or something and see what happens. And if I didn't, I was like, I'll just do Columbia College to make my mom happy. Like, I'm in school, but keep pursuing this acting theater thing. And ended up, I was in this play at the time. I was in A Clockwork Orange. I was 18 at the Loop. It was like right off, it was on Roosevelt. It was right by, what's that theater? There was like a storefront theater right off Millennium Park in the Loop that was like, it had a number, was the name, Space 37 or something like that. And it was a great experience. And I was like, other guys in the cast were like, my droog from here went to DePaul, and this droog went to like Illinois State, and this one went to Northwestern. And you're just like, I guess I don't need to go to a conservatory fucking theater school. And I just kind of like put my focus there. And after half a semester of screwing around college, I was like, I don't need to do that. This is expensive.
Yeah.
And my siblings, and so I just didn't. But now I'm signed up. I'm going to go start a UCLA extension class. I'm taking a class in line producing.
Cool.
I'm super pumped.
That's I've thought about that, taking just like a class.
Well, because I've produced a lot of things, but like the nuts and bolts part of it, like I'm a creative producer, quote unquote.
Right.
And I'd really like to have more power over like the budgets and being able to tell people yes and no about like what they show me. It's
a good idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna like learn how to line produce, I guess.
Yeah. So at Columbia, did you have a major, or were you just doing
Technically
like
film? But I did like a creative writing class. I took one film class that I stopped halfway through. But it's how I found out about Werner Herzog, so that was cool. And then I took a sculpture class or something like that.
Did you enjoy it?
At the time, I liked the idea of it. It was just such a hassle. I didn't like getting to class. I lived in the suburbs still at the time, and I didn't like having to get to like the South Loop at 8 a.m. in the fucking winter. I had this Jeep Wrangler that had like a plastic top with holes in it.
Yeah.
And it was just so fucking cold.
I walked to school in the winter.
Yikes.
It was horrible.
Where are you living?
I was actually by Navy Pier.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a 30, 40-minute walk.
That's a cold walk.
Ish. Yeah.
Ugh.
And like some days I took the bus, but it was so unreliable. And I would be late all the time. And I just like I went for psychology.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought when I actually got injured dancing. And so for about it was my Achilles.
Oof.
I had an ostrigonum, which is an extra bone in the back of my heel.
Wow.
That was just like tearing tendons.
Ugh.
And it's like cracked in half.
Doing fucking ballet.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So I had to give up.
You're like point and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got surgery and I gave up. Like after surgery, I thought I tried really hard. I probably could have tried harder. I mean, I always tell myself that, which is probably not good, but I ended up just not doing it. And so when my mom was like, you should go to college, I was like, for what? Like, honestly, all I did was ballet. I didn't care about school. I didn't even like really get that good of grades or test scores. So I was like, where am I?
Your jam,
yeah, like I was just into dance. So, I mean, I took a fucking like aptitude test. My mom was like, take this, like do a Myers-Briggs and then and had a professional administer it to me because she was like really concerned that I wasn't going to do dance anymore. And I had no idea what I was going to do. And so it was like, you should be a therapist or a social worker. And I was like, all right, I'll go to psychology. I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Why?
Like there's something weird to me about like learning too much about the brain. Like it makes me feel it's like too meta. I don't want to go through life knowing why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. And but like at the time, that's how I felt. I think I would enjoy it more now. But I was 19 and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I thought like, this is not it. So I went and changed to media studies.
Cool.
And that's when I started making videos too.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah,
it worked out.
Yeah, it's weird because now I think I left high school as soon as I could, which ended up just being a semester early. But I basically got to my senior year and I was like, how fast can I get the fuck out of here? And they were like, you can finish this semester if you want. I was like, great, let's do it.
Yeah.
But now I'm excited. I'm like really excited to go back to school.
I think I would be too.
Yeah. I also did do some college, some like at Columbia, Santa Monica College.
Okay.
Probably like 8-9 years ago. Like shortly after getting to LA, I ended up getting a staph infection from jiu-jitsu, and complications from that led to me being in the hospital for like 3 days, sleeping in ice packs, and then insurance was like, I was still on my parents' insurance because the under 25 thing, and I was and they were like, oh, so you need to be a student. Where are you in school right now? And I was like, I go to Santa Monica College. I'm like, 1 second. And I signed up.
Wow.
And I kind of like retroactively was like, I'm in for the spring semester. So I did like a little bit of
oh my
that
God,
just
genius.
for fun. Yeah. It was good. Saved a lot of hospital bills. And I learned something. I can't remember even what I took classes in, but I did it.
You learned.
Yeah. I don't know, but now I like relish it. I do like, I know what you mean about not wanting to know as much about the brain. Sometimes that's been a thing about this podcast where I was even like, maybe I should fucking quit it. Like, kind of like therapy. If you go to too much therapy, I think sometimes you got to go through phases of leaving therapy because you just feel too navel-gazed. You feel too identified with, like the thing I was saying about being afraid of being like, I'm too vulnerable and fucking weird. That's my brand online. It's so weak or something like that. When like sometimes you just want to do like put a glib, silly post up. Like I follow people who are like just such cartoons. And I like them. Yeah. Whether it's like, do you follow Bretman Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah, like him or like Chris D'Elia or like people who are just like so like, silly and like fucking arrogant in this funny way that I find weirdly inspiring. And some days I feel like that. And I'm like, just be that online. It's more uplifting to see people being like, fuck it, we can beat life. Than people being like, life's beating me up every day. I'm trying, but it's beating me up every day. You know what I mean?
Like, I get it. But also, I'm just so against doing anything that doesn't feel natural to you.
I think you're right. I guess it just feels weird that like I do feel like I feel both things. It depends where you catch me. And there's a feeling that if you put something out, you've crystallized it and you've been like, this is here forever now. This is permanent. This is me. And anybody can find it and go like, you said this. And, and that makes me uncomfortable.
And that's like a moment in time.
But I think that's what you were saying at the beginning about like to look back on your stuff and sometimes you're like, but you got to go like, no, that's where I was.
That's where I was.
Yeah.
I mean, I had my friends who I had a collab channel with back in the day, like 2012. They recently were like, we need to take those videos down. They don't make videos anymore. And I'm really the only one that like kept doing it. Yeah. And I was like, you're gonna delete the channel? They were like, yeah, we're gonna just delete it. Like, I was like, can't you just private the videos? Like, I want to.
Oh, because they'll be gone.
Yeah. They were like, gonna delete it. And I was like, no, guys. Yeah. We're gonna want to look back. Think about like when you're older. Like, it's been a cringy number of years right now. Yeah. But eventually, it'll be like a number of years where you're like, oh my God, look at these babies.
That's so true.
And I convinced them to private them. Good. But I'm like that kind of person where like I don't want to delete my old videos. I don't want to private my old videos because that's a moment in time, and I feel like everyone needs to remember that. But people don't, especially today. And that's more
especially today. Well, you know what's weird about that is like, do you think you did anything like fucked up? Do you think you did anything like problematic?
I think like the few years before I started making videos were my most problematic years. When I was like 15, 16, 17, I was a shit show. But I said a lot of things I shouldn't have said.
You're probably lucky that not much that's recorded.
That's what I'm saying. And I think like I have grown so much to understand different people, different perspectives. Yeah. Like I was like weirdly religious in certain ways and like against certain things. Like I'll just admit I was against gay marriage because I felt like marriage was like of the church, and if you wanted to be of the church, you wouldn't be gay. Yeah. Like
I definitely thought like the Iraq War was a good idea when I was like 15 or 16.
I was like super for war. Like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've grown so much.
Yeah,
like,
it's weird
because
do you feel like it does make me think like just I'm thinking now because there's this thing in the culture now a lot of like digging up people's fucked up things they did. There's part that maybe I should have more patience for it. More like, hey, you gotta let people get a chance to fucking change.
I have been really like struggling with when is it too much? When is the call out culture too much and when is it necessary? Yeah. And when is like an apology enough? When is saying I'm working on it enough? Yeah. And like, can we give people breaks? Is like there a certain age when it's too ridiculous to say certain things? Like, we don't know everyone's day-to-day life. I think the moment I started growing and changing was when I started posting videos on the internet. Yeah. When I started connecting with different communities all across the world, things changed for me. But if I were to stay in Lamont, in my like little suburban town until I was like 27 and I moved out, and like maybe did something big, got something big, and tweeted something dumb.
Well, I really do think like I always said like racism never survives like contact. Like, you know, if you get outside of your bubble, most people who hold some kind of opinion have just never. And it is. I wonder about that because I always say I think like martial arts had a lot of that for me. Like when I was 15, 16 and I started doing theater in the city, I also started doing like martial arts in the city, and I would interact with people from all different like diverse backgrounds where I lived in a fairly like white bubble in the suburbs, and suddenly like things that just, you know, like kind of like casual, not like racism in the sense because no one was racist.
Here's an example. But I think I know where you're going. Like, my friends and I would sing the N-word. If it was in a song, we were like, it's in a song. It was written like that. We can say it. I, of course, do not do that now. Have changed my mind. But that was like a thing common where I grew up.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that kind of stuff where you're just like, I don't know, just instinctively feeling like different people are different or like scary or foreign or something you're not going to know. And
because you didn't know them.
Well, it's just to just dissolve once you start knowing them. And it was like, I don't know. Can I even like feel particularly cool about like, I've always been cool with gay people, but it's like you also been in like artsy fartsy communities. You're just exposed to gay people a lot. So maybe it's not anything special about you're so tolerant or so normal or like everybody's a person. You just are exposed to it.
Yeah.
And it feels like the older I get, the more you just can be like, well, people really are the sum of their experiences. I don't know how to fake those experiences for everybody who doesn't have them naturally. And then how much patience do you have for people who don't
try?
Well, definitely you don't try. I guess that's the point, is to try to get people to just have open minds and be intolerant and stuff, and be tolerant, not intolerant.
But we don't even have that patience.
Right.
For trying.
Right.
Like I feel like we immediately go to, oh, you don't know?
Yeah.
Then like that's that.
Well, I also think it's hard, especially
you're canceled.
Yeah, it's hard for us to get this idea of like, I think we're kind of taught as long as your intent is good, you can't be wrong. Or at least that's how it feels inside. It's like, well, I can't be wrong.
We're taught that.
You feel so defensive. You go like, no, I didn't mean. And to try to get your head around like, I know nobody never knows you didn't mean. We're trying to like change things up here. I know. I also feel like because maybe the answers that like even whoever gets to be the social police those are works in progress too, and those change.
Yeah, but
using the right terms, and you know what I mean.
I
Things
feel
like
that they're so like not willing to admit that things change and things grow, and we have to like let people learn because things are ever changing. Yeah. I mean, and especially like what I'm not a big fan of is, listen, if something's uncovered from your past or it was recent, whatever, and then that person says, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And of course, even if they say, of course, I didn't intend for it to feel that way, but now I know that my intentions, it's like a legitimate, true apology.
Yeah.
I'll still see like quote retweets like, you're only sorry because you got caught.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Right.
But they're sorry because they got caught and it taught them something that they didn't know before. And that's possible.
For sure.
And I still see that slammed.
Yeah.
But I think previously, like when I was 21, 22, I was a social justice warrior. Like
really?
I was almost to the point where like people would hate me because I was just calling out everything.
Yeah.
And so I think I went through that, and I also learned that like I was not perfect.
Exactly.
And I acknowledged that like my past was not shiny.
Right.
Like I have to acknowledge that other people's isn't either.
Right.
And it's hard.
It is hard. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm just like, I think the big, I guess I've said this on here before, but whatever. It is, I don't know what I was going to say. Just that, I don't think I gain anything from just learning the language to like to be like unoffensive. And I think that's what a lot of people do is like we learn like they don't learn the underlying issue of whatever it is that makes things, the power imbalances and institutional stuff and like about how you affect people with your actions and words. They just learn kind of what will get them in trouble or not.
Yeah, or what to say to get them out of it.
Instead of like
actually
facing what their internal weird feelings are about men or women or gay people or straight people or
I would agree
different
with
races or whatever. And that I think, I don't know. I think about it like, I don't know. I just notice in myself, I think it's more and more important for me to be in the world who I actually am. I'm thinking about this a little bit because I started doing this other podcast this week called Fight Stuff with my buddy Zeke. And Zeke and I have been friends for so long. And Fight Stuff is like, definitely if this is the yin, that's the yang podcast. Like this is very just me in this space of introspective, whatever, blah,
right?
And sensitive as fuck, and just this open nerve, and that's me. I mean, that gets in there a little bit. I can't help it not being in there, but it's like I've always loved fighting. I've been attracted to violence my whole life. I still am, and I do it a lot. And basically, and in that world, once you get good at it, like I do submission grappling, which is. It's wrestling basically, but instead of the goal being to pin somebody, it's to tap them out. So it's like joint locks and chokes, and it's vicious. You're like smashing people's faces and doing all this stuff. Even though you're not hitting each other, it's like very intimate and violent, but you do it casually and like you laugh about it, and so this like I'm very irreverent. I'm much broier. We talk about fight sports and all this stuff, and it's almost like weird. I'm like, who am I? Like, am I this person or am I this person? But I started to feel more and more like I need to be all of who I am in the world.
¿Por qué no los dos? Why
yeah,
not both?
exactly.
Yeah.
And but just getting comfortable with like this guy is much more like I don't know. He sounds so broy or so much less like wokey than, and I don't know. But I think it's important to be more and more like who we are in our full spectrum selves in the world. To just be like, you can look and sound like this and still give a shit about equality, and vice versa. You can be very concerned and struggling with trying to not step on anyone's toes ever, but also live in a world where animals eat each other and you like fighting.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and it's giving an example to maybe a direct audience that doesn't really think like that. Like, I think you have more power than you realize.
I don't know, maybe
like
we do.
With your other podcast, if you're saying like,
well, that is part of the goal of that podcast. I will say is like to hopefully create a space where I genuinely enjoy. Like I joke about it's called it's the podcast for violence and violence enthusiasts. But I'm hoping, that it engenders. I don't know. I think there needs to be a space for people who are into like dark shit and men to be into like boy shit to like kind of balance out their whatever and to bring some more awareness to that world. And I don't know, to me, I just think violence in our culture is stigmatized the way like sex used to be. And we need to like the Eros Thanatos thing. We need to figure out a way, because it's coming out in weird ways. Like the obsession with murder, like in culture, I think has to do with like a discomfort of like there's nowhere else to healthfully express violent instincts or that kind of attraction to darkness. And so it gets twisted into this really weird, like almost celebrity worship of serial killers that fucking weirds me out. And I feel like if people just had a place to indulge a little bit.
You know what's like, this is weird to actually admit, but sometimes I enjoy like interviews with serial killers because I relate.
Okay.
In a certain way.
What about it?
And I think a lot of people are scared to admit it. But there's things that like when they sound very self-aware of like exactly what they're feeling, and they say it with such like bluntness. Like that's kind of what I don't relate to like wanting to kill my dad. Like I've never thought, I'm going to kill my dad. But you know, like that innate feeling of like it feels good to like hit something,
like the consideration of this strange existential
and how
separation.
They're planning. They're like just very thought out in how from start to finish they like kill someone.
I think there is something relatable in that, like this idea that you could apply an analytical, observant brain of yourself that you are using only to serve a very impulsive, insane thing that you can't explain.
Yeah, like
you know,
I'm
meaning
not
like it's not logical that I want to make art or something like that.
Yeah.
But I know I can't get away from that instinct. So I'm going to use my other brain to figure out how to be allowed to do that.
Well, and I think it's very it's calculated in a, I mean, obviously a twisted way, but like describing, you know, I noticed that she was wearing this, and like I don't know, it's all formulaic, and I think I relate to it the way they talk when it's formulaic.
Interesting.
But I also think that there is an innate joy in violence. Like I won't
definitely
admit that.
Agree with that.
But I also grew up doing karate.
Okay. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think the difference to me is very much why I think it's also a sex and violence sort of similar thing in culture of the repression of it is the same thing that there's joy in sex also. The thing that makes sex okay or not is just consent. And so I think violence is the same.
I would say it's the same with violence. Yeah. I would agree.
I think what I think is fucked up is like with the murder like sort of love is like like let's just substitute that in. What if they just rape, and a lot of those serial killers do. I don't think it would be as like people would be as like, oh, this is my favorite rapist and stuff. And you know?
My god, I think that's twisted.
It's fucked up. It's fucked up. And arguably that's like for sure you're not killing somebody. It's like a less violent crime. It's a less like horrific permanent crime, sort of. But in the culture, everyone's like super pumped about the idea of like, let's glorify murder and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And I think you're mostly stemming from this Ted Bundy.
Definitely the Ted Bundy stuff.
That was a really big thing.
Well, and I got fucking grossed out by the trailer of the like rock and roll movie that they put out. And I was just like, you know what I'm saying? Where they did this like glossy, they made it look like this heist flick where he's like this like scamp, you know,
I'm scared to say my opinion because I think I think they did an excellent job at portraying how this guy made you feel.
I think that's what,
in real life.
That's what my brother said too. My little brother kind of felt that way about it too. He's like, I think it's important. I just think that being like, yeah, but that's how it was is a convenient excuse for people where you're like, yeah, but what are you contributing to? And I guess that's funny for me to say as somebody who's now going like, no, I want to create a healthy space for us to have more violence.
Well, I do think it's not good that his victims are still alive.
Yeah.
I think it's fucked up that this was not that long ago. I think it's fucked up that this is a real fucking person.
That's right.
I think it would be
That's what I think.
more interesting to delve into a fictional aspect of a serial killer and kind of make it in the same realm.
Yeah, I agree with that. But then you're getting in. I do think there's a difference. And I don't know why I'm making this excuse because I'm so existentially weird about everything else that I'm like, well, everything's narrative. Everything's like sort of this weird amorphous thing. And aren't we all just telling stories? And yeah, it happened for real. There's a million other things that happen for real that we use as allegories and metaphors. But I don't know. I think there's a strange, maybe it has to do with like profit or something like that it has to do with like literal profit. It's not just so we can gather around the fire as a group of people and have shadow plays where we sort of look at our nightmare selves and examine. It just feels grosser and more like profiting off of these horrific things that happen to people. Yeah. I feel like we're like a hop, skip, and a jump from like the reality show that follows somebody while they murdered people.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. It'd be really fucked up if I saw like someone who abused me like getting a movie made about them.
I know.
Like
you'd be a character in it then, you know?
It would feel horrible. So that's why I think the whole idea of the movie is shitty.
Well, that does make me think. I really love the idea of Loki in pantheons, and then like or Coyote, and then like every old pantheon has a space for gods of horrible things or of chaos or trickery.
And isn't it interesting how much?
And that's kind of what we're doing.
Those like anti-heroes and like people who just kill people in movies, like they're not looked at the same.
Well, that's part of what you're talking about in like fictional films.
Yeah, like fictional and like mostly fantastical movies.
Well, that's where I do think this is part of this. Like, I do think violence like lives in us and needs a place to be healthfully expressed because we all have fucked up things that maybe not all of us, but I think most of us. And I do think it's fine. It's part of being a person and things you can't control. It's like part of your weird reptile brain,
right?
And finding healthy ways to do it. I totally get that. I do think it's interesting. Did you ever see this movie called The Way of the Gun?
No.
It was like this indie movie, very like Miramax feeling movie from that era of the 90s independent films. And I watched it again recently. What time is it?
12:10.
All right, we'll wrap this up soon.
Yeah.
Long story short, it's like the script is like they'd never make this today.
Mm-hmm.
And I read an interview then about the making of the movie that basically they were like, we identified that people love violence in movies, but they need you to give them a narrative where it's okay. Like John Wick, they killed his dog, so now he has to kill 120 people. It's okay, or whatever.
Right.
And you can have fun. And they were like, we just want to make a movie that was like violent and action packed, but the protagonists are just bad guys doing things for bad, selfish reasons.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get what you want out of a Hollywood movie, but you're not going to get the like payoff. And I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting thing to do, to say, we know you want this thing and we're not going to give you the packaging that makes it like easy to be fun.
Yeah.
I think what's weird is now a lot of movies exist that you've totally done away with the pretense of they're good,
Right.
There's an excuse.
I mean, I think Breaking Bad was the closest thing that I really enjoyed that had that sense where the good guys were actually just killing innocent people sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, how do I feel? Like, and it is strange. You're like, this makes me feel like I don't like them. but also I still like them. And that's always been fascinating to me, is actually seeing the other side of things and seeing why people do bad things.
Yeah.
Because they do. And I think to like say that none of us have ever wanted to or done something bad is crazy. I mean, especially when I see like cheating storylines, because it's very common. And I've never cheated on anyone, but it's so fascinating to me when I find out, oh, that's why you cheated. Like, I get it. Yeah. I'm not saying it was right.
Yeah.
But I feel
I have a lot of...
I feel the same way with like...
understanding for people.
Like murder, though.
Yeah.
Like, especially like murder that is backed up, is not just random.
Right.
You know, because there are obviously some people who just randomly kill people. But there's a lot of the time, I just find it fascinating to understand, like, why did you kill someone? And I think that's what's interesting in a lot of people. And that's why it's, you know, getting popular. It's gross. And it's hard to admit that you like knowing why someone does bad things. Yeah. But it's still really interesting.
I agree. I definitely agree with a lot of that.
And I think it helps me not do bad things. Because when I get into these circumstances... Well, that's what I think. I do think creating a space, and I guess this is part of my weirdness about it. That's my whole point, is I think it prevents you from doing bad things in real life when you have spaces to explore those feelings that and
are
like
safe.
Understand it better.
Yeah, and you have people that are participant in it and stuff like that. I think maybe I just don't like that there's so much unconscious like pursuing of these instincts and people don't really like, where are those heading?
Yeah.
That kind of feeling.
I don't like watching like movies and TV where people just kill people and you never understand it and it's just or like they just do a bunch of bad shit and there's no relatability there. Like there's a lot of characters written for TV that are just like, you're just a bad person, and you never see the other side. You never like get to know how they grew up, where they came from, what made them this way.
What led them
and
to
I would
this.
always rather see both sides.
Yeah,
I think it's very meaningless to me to just watch someone be bad.
Yeah,
like there's nobody that's just bad.
No,
because
there's not. Well, more and more, I think there is some. I think just bad does exist.
Interesting.
I guess you could always make an excuse for it that there's some reason that a person does it, but I think the reasons can be really shallow and be really like fucked up and really that like some people just don't give a fuck as much or are more selfish and don't care or don't think other people exist as much, you know?
But I guess like when I specifically watch interviews with serial killers, they have something wrong with their brain. There's something different that they don't feel how someone who has empathy feels. I
think that is true. And I think that's interesting. Basically, that I think a lot of people are like that.
There's a podcast actually where a guy says that he is sociopathic. He like has his own podcast
about being a sociopath,
and he believes that he is a sociopath and has to fight like the urge to
like he's learned the rules of society.
Yeah, like he's just like playing along essentially because he knows that he could do bad things.
Maybe that is part of the appeal. Maybe all of us feel like that on some level.
And that's why I think
like we just learned all these rules, but
I mean, of course, a little bit, and it's hard to tell which one's which.
Yeah, because once you get down an existential hole, you're like, identity is so constructed. All right, well, let's get out of here soon. I want to do these 6 quick cues with you. So we'll just do the wrap up section. Okay. The first one's always like, and I kind of tie the first 2 together now, which is, have you ever been diagnosed with any mental stuff, or do you have it? And if not, like, what do you struggle with? And the second question is always like, what medications have you tried? And that can also be like prescription or not, or whatever.
Okay. In college, actually, I was officially diagnosed with depression. I think even when I was a kid, my parents took me to see therapists, but they never really like concluded that I had depression or didn't say it. I don't know. Maybe they did. My parents didn't tell me. Who knows? I don't think I ever took medication until I was in high school. And I actually ended up taking Ativans, which is like anxiety stuff. And I wasn't taking it legally. It wasn't like prescribed to me. Yeah. And then I stopped quickly because I became, there's something about becoming too self-aware on your day to day that it bothered me. Like I got paranoid all the time. So I actually, when I moved to LA, started smoking weed.
Yeah.
And I was very like, dare, I'm against drugs.
Oh,
like,
so it was a big deal for you to start to smoke weed.
Yeah. I had never done it until I was 21.
Did you drink?
Yeah, I went through a heavy drinking phase.
Before you were 21?
Before I was 21. Probably 16, 17, 18 was like the worst.
Yeah, I just think that's so interesting because it's fucking insane that marijuana's like a drug.
Yes.
And alcohol's just this sneaky thing.
Yeah. It's that really, I mean, I could go on and on about that. Yeah. Especially going to AA now. But when I smoked weed, oh my God. Like I swear it has changed my life.
Yeah, me too.
I have become so much more understanding of different people's perspectives. I can feel deeper. Like I used to block a lot out.
Wow.
And I used to not want to share, feel, cry as much as I do now. But I'm like really openly emotional since smoking weed.
Yeah. You ever do it
it's
and
been
then dance?
great.
You smoke weed and dance?
Oh, for sure.
That's huh? I like to work out. I like
all of my improvs. I smoke weed before.
Well, I was gonna say your improv because it's the ballet, but you seem to be exploring a very contemporary space
for sure.
Yeah.
No, I like hip hop influences, especially like tutting and like reactionary. Like what happens
contact
if like
improv?
What happens if I like touch my nose? Like where would it go?
Cool.
Like, can I draw shapes? You know, like that's what I like to do is mental body mind connection.
Yeah.
I'm into yoga. I mean, this is like really LA of me, but
I know. I love it. I used to what was I gonna say? I don't know what I was gonna say. I just did a music video. I got to dance.
I know. Mitch showed me.
Yeah. Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was psyched
really
about
cool.
it. Yeah, I was psyched because we'll screw around on Instagram and stuff, and I'm gonna try to bring it back because it feels really good.
Yeah,
it's
really
feels
great.
That was a scary thing to do because I was like,
totally
dancer.
Is.
He said because we were talking about you to come maybe choreograph. I think.
I know he told me,
it
but
was like a
no,
money
it's all
thing.
right. It's all right.
Would
yeah,
have been helpful because I definitely was running out of
though.
ideas middle of the fucking night. I don't know.
You really should. It's very freeing.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's great. Can I ask also on that because that was we touched a little bit on it but it seems like it can come back in this part of the questions. What is your gender exploration stuff you're talking about, or what was that? Did that start happening like the item doing the makeup thing and whatever around the same time, or where are you with that? Because I don't know anything. I just see it from afar and I find it inspiring and interesting. But
I guess like it's probably been 2 years now, like on and off, where I've been not wearing makeup and figuring out what I like to wear and what I was forced to wear. But I'm really in it now. It feels very authentic now.
Was cutting your hair a big deal? You know,
shaving my head,
cut it short?
Cutting it short was honestly not that big of a deal.
This shaving your head, I guess.
Shaving my head felt wonderful.
Really?
But I don't know that I equate that with any of my gender discovery. No.
Cool.
I think like something that is important to me that I realized was important to me after I shaved my head was that women can have shaved heads. And
I definitely agree with that.
And like still be 100% female.
Right.
But it's looked at as like act of like defiance. And I guess maybe it was. You know, I'm not going to lie and say that society didn't, you know, tell me like this is a freeing and cool thing to do and it'll feel great and you'll feel like I don't know. But I enjoyed it for what it was. I don't love it, if I'm being honest.
Really?
I wear hats all the time.
That's cool.
And so I'm thinking like, do I like to wear hats or do I not like my hair?
Interesting. I don't know. That's personally that's resonant. I don't know. I started wearing hats a lot more over the last year, and I don't know what it is because I feel like now I feel comfortable with them on so much, and I have some hair. I did notice recently. I was like, I started to like notice hair thinning a little bit, and not that anybody else, but just things I noticed. I'm 33, and my
Does that
mom's side of
bother
the
you?
family, and I was surprised to be bothered. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe I should start taking some stuff. And I always before I was like, nah, fuck it, we'll see what happens. You know, I'm just gonna be who I am, and whatever happens, happens. And if it starts to go away, I'll just shave it off too, and blah blah. And then I was very surprised to feel this attachment to it.
Yeah.
While I want to be somebody who's just with myself wherever I'm at, I was like, yeah, and I still kind of hate that reaction of myself. I don't know.
No, I feel that way mostly with aging. I know you said that like youth isn't a big deal for you.
But well, no, I'm saying it. What I was saying was I don't want it to be, but I find myself
Right.
surprisingly like I wish I was a
Affected.
fucking cool. Wow, I'll never be like a cool teenager.
Yeah. Yeah. I it is
Which
like
I don't feel that. I don't feel that, quote unquote, but I do in my guts kind of have that reaction still sometimes.
yeah, I really struggle with aging and like my face changing, like my body shape changing, how I feel
Yeah.
about my body changing, like finishing a dance rehearsal and being like, "Oh God, I
Yeah.
can't walk." Like I'm 26,
That's the start of that.
really, you know, and it only gets worse.
Yeah.
Is all I've heard.
Yep,
so
pretty much.
that's like that is a fear. Like I look at that and I'm
Definitely,
like,
if you
I
just
don't
keep
want
moving,
that.
if you don't get beat up by that thought, and just be like, I'm gonna move however I move wherever I'm at. Mm-hmm. That's the best. Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because I definitely feel that after I spent all my 20s doing different kinds of MMA and CrossFit and shit like that. I definitely can't work out like I did then.
Right.
But I'm better jiu-jitsu than I ever was for sure. So you're like, I think it's good to just focus on the doing and the
Yeah.
feeling.
I
you know?
feel like I'm a better dancer
Yeah.
than I was,
Yeah.
even when I was healthier.
Even though
or
you're like
whatever.
less physically whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. The third question I think is always, what's something dark about you? No, it's not. That's the fourth one. The third one is what's something cheesy you find inspiring?
Oh. Children's TV shows about dancers and going to like a dance academy.
Oh, cute.
I really love watching
What
that
about
shit.
like Dance Moms?
No, reality shows, not so much.
Yeah. those-
I like scripted like dramas about kids.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why, but like for some reason watching those, I'm like, oh, cool. I relate. And I'm like so much older, but I
Yeah.
constantly relate
Yeah.
to even the kids I teach. I'm like, y'all are not that much younger than me, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's inspiring.
And I feel more related to them than a lot of like people my age sometimes. I
Yeah.
feel like a child
For sure.
in my heart. And so
Yeah.
that's very inspirational to me is seeing like how kids move.
What about it?
Like when they dance, I'm like, oh shit, they're good.
Even if like, does it have to not like with a precision or like, you know what I mean? Like I'd assume that means like there's a childlike way of moving.
Yeah, like facial expressions, this like freedom, this like not bogged down by like finance, life, like they're just going to school and going to dance.
Yeah.
And they have their own problems. And I just really respect the kids I teach and like kids that I see in media. It's a quality that I try to keep in my life.
Childlike.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
like innocent, less negative, and just like taking it day by day.
Yeah. Okay. The next question is what's something dark about you, which I really should eliminate because every time I do, we talk about it. Like you said, you like listening to serial killers. That's a pretty good dark thing about
That
you.
is like
But,
a weird.
I don't know. I should get rid of the originally was intended because I think people put so much front up and we don't like to talk about the fucked up parts of ourselves. But then we've done a pretty good job. This
But,
podcast
yeah,
has come to
sometimes
do
you
that
get-
now.
yeah, you
I
get
don't know.
it.
Do you want to add anything?
I was pretty open this
Yeah, I
whole time.
know.
I enjoyed it. I said a lot of things that were scary to say.
Yeah.
But hopefully nobody's too judgmental.
Yeah, I don't think this
always
seems
a
to be a
fear.
pretty forgiving. I don't know. I wonder. I gotta stop. I just don't give a fuck about it anymore. Well, that's actually completely the opposite.
Every time I
do
say.
give a fuck
Every
so
time you say
much.
that.
But the point is that I want to very
Push
much
past
be
it.
who I am and whoever's with me.
Yeah.
And if we have messy things that we're expressing, being like, well, I think a lot of people listening have messy things that they are maybe afraid to express or whatever. And I like to think that we create a space where people can be messy and be
Yes.
honest in this journey of trying to be better.
Yeah. That's a beautiful sentiment.
All right. So then what's the last gorgeous thing you saw?
Wow.
That's the fifth question.
So coming into your apartment, I love people's apartments. I love getting a sense of who they are from where they live.
Yeah.
And I think I was like enamored.
Oh.
I was like,
all right.
this looks really fucking lived in. This looks like you were playing piano. Like there's a sheet, there's
my
a piece
roommate,
of I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, there's
I've been
like
trying
something
to.
very like, you don't have to make excuses for it because I would do the same thing in my apartment. But I'm looking at this cool chair. I'm like, this is just by the window. Do you have coffee there sometimes?
I do.
Like, gorgeous.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I feel that way about it too. I love this place. It's the only place I lived in LA that and I've been here 2 or 3 years now with my roommate. And but thank you. All right. I appreciate it.
No, it feels
That's
good.
awesome.
I was like, wow. Something I love about that.
Yeah, because that's something I feel that way about it. So it's really fucking awesome to hear that someone else feels that way. All right, the last question is always, I have this thing, so the don't kill yourself list, which is I started when I was in a really bad time in my life. And I always started with coffee sandwiches and lavender soap. And it's just like things that are accessible and to me, to my subjective reality, objective reasons to stay alive. So I would like you to add something or if you, whatever, what would you put on a don't kill yourself list?
Yeah, my couch. I fucking love my couch and it brings me happiness to lay in it.
Yeah. What about it? What kind of couch is it?
It's like this couch pretty much.
Like a 3-sectional.
Yeah,
like
I think there's
section
3 cushions here, but then like one of these
a
guys.
A
chaise. Yeah. I don't know. It's just nice.
Is it from IKEA?
No.
Oh,
it's
I was
like
gonna say
from
it
a
could be the
random furniture store.
Yeah.
So that one's great.
A good couch is a good one.
A good couch. Sunlight.
Yeah.
Feels good.
It does.
I've been really enjoying opening all my fucking windows and my blinds and just like being happy with light. And my dog.
Yeah. What kind of dog you have?
She's a Chihuahua, like Spitzy. I think it's a skipper key technically, but nobody really knows what that is.
A skipper key?
A skipper key.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, she's cute, man.
That sounds cute.
She's a star.
All right. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
You want to say where your Instagram is or something like that?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I introduced myself once.
Yeah, I don't. Well,
That's
what
okay.
I've been doing is I usually do like an intro where I talk.
Totally.
But I might start getting rid of that too, which I'll talk about in the intro of this one. Because I kind of like that thing we were talking about, creating more like vibey. Let's just go in.
Let's just
and I like that
launch.
about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I usually do a little.
Ava Gordy. Everywhere.
Ava Gordy.
Yeah, AVA.
Cool.
Cool.
I don't know. Well, thanks a lot for doing this.
Thank you.
I
enjoyed
you're gonna
it.
Get there on time. Yeah, this kicked ass.
will.
It was kind of cool just to like personally
I know.
get to know
Get
you
to
more
know
finally,
you better.
you know? All
I
right.
enjoyed it.
Bye everybody. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Thanks again, guys. My Good Bad Brain is a production of Mind Jam Media. If you dig the show, check out patreon.com/mygoodbadbrain. Money there helps out a lot. And be well. Self-care. Hydrate. Leave good reviews of the show if you like it. Okay. Bye-bye.